My name's Graeme McIvor. I'm from Billingham, born in Averton Hill. Moved to Billingham when I was 5 and been there ever since.
Billingham to me is kind of chimney stacks and all that kind of stuff. Is that right? Am I right?
Yeah, it used to be.
Am I dissing it a bit?
Dissing us a bit, I think, now. It's a bit posher now, it is. Now ICI's gone.
Yeah.
But we've got Fujifilm taking over now.
But that's the thing, because my father-in-law used to work at ICI, so that's all I knew.
And it was. That's what all the houses were built for.
Yeah.
For the ICI workers and the management.
Yeah,
especially around Old Billingham, where I live.
It's a massive industrial space, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But, I mean, it's coming on massively as well down there, but it's kind of, if you're not there, you don't understand it, so...
No, I suppose you don't.
Yeah.
It's just another town, isn't it?
Yeah. So, family, what's you doing?
I'm married to Ange. Got 3 kids. I've got a stepdaughter, Sophie, my daughter, Colleen, and Peter, who I lost to suicide in 2019.
Oh, right, okay. Well, because I don't know your story, but I'm kind of half familiar with it.
Yep.
Because I think I heard you when you were doing an interview with Macmillan as well, and you were in with the Infant Hercules boys, and so yeah, I mean, mental health and suicide. It's a shame you can't. I'll start with a bugbear of mine. You put the thing up on the internet, and you can't even say the word without it getting flagged.
No.
Why? And why can't we talk about it? And we should be talking about it. So this is the whole point in trying to do this, is to kind of share the stories.
Yeah, people just seem scared to talk about it more than anything. And I think, but once you're involved in it, or you've got somebody who's took their own life, you realise how many other people are in it. You know,
that's the thing, because it brings you closer. It's probably the same as anyone in any situation. You don't know, and then you find a community of people who have gone through the same thing. So then it kind of opens your mind a little bit. Then you start understanding things, and then you go, right, okay, we need to be doing something about it, and putting time and effort into trying to do something about it. I think that's all we can do, really, can't we?
Yeah, and there's so many groups out there, so many charities, and they're doing it, but the rate of people taking their own lives in Teesside is still on the rise.
Really, is it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Have you got any stats on that as well?
I haven't, but I definitely know that it's men under 40 are the biggest people to take their lives. Now, is it just because they're not talking to people and getting it out there and letting it build, and then they get to that point where that flash of light comes in front of their eyes, and it's happened. It's gone, you know, and there's no coming back.
Yeah. Can we talk about your son?
Yeah, absolutely.
And who he was and what he, you know, because you'll know more than anyone else. And obviously a parent, I'm a parent as well. We just go through and hopefully everything's all right.
Yeah.
Some things you don't say, some things you do say, and all you can do is your best to kind of flag things up. So kind of let's describe him first, and then kind of...
Yeah, I'll tell you about Pete. He was a good kid, good at school, went through school with no problems, loved his sport as a kid, football, cricket, joined the Scouts. He was a Scout lad. He used to go away camping, went to big school, got on a trip with to France, to the Ardèche, which is all canoeing, camping and things like that. So he was an outgoing kid.
Loads of friends, all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. He was funny.
Yeah.
You know, he could hold a room. Even as a kid,
Really?
could hold a room.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a funny lad. And then left school, didn't want to go to college. Got an apprenticeship as a bricklayer. Went through it all, passed everything. And then he came home one night and said, "I'm packing in." I went, "What?" He went, "There's no money in it, Dad." He said, "I've been offered another apprenticeship." So he was now 19, I think, and he got an apprenticeship as a rigger for an American company based out of Scotland. And he went and he passed everything, and then he went off to New York, Spain, Scotland, all over the country, and he was a brilliant worker. And then he packed it. He left that company and got into the oil and gas industry as an onshore rigger, and was never out of work. He was happy in work. And then relationships came in, and his biggest relationship was probably a pint. He liked a pint with the lads. And then he met a girl, and they had a little boy in 2010.
How old was he at this point?
I was probably 21, 22.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, and then he had a boy. Didn't work out. CSA got involved, and the CSA battered him for 2 years, on him all the time. And I used to see this fragile bit of him coming out. And he couldn't talk to them. If he talked to them, he lost his temper with them, because he was telling them what he was earning, and he never missed. I wouldn't ever let him miss a payment to her. And so that relationship moved off, and they went separate ways. He battled for about, I think Josh was about 8, and Pete said, "I've had enough, Dad. I'm stepping away." He was going to court, and they were making him go into rooms with people in, watching him playing with his little boy. And I really think it was the start of the mental health. This was the catalyst of it all. It started. And then he met, a few years later, met another girl, lovely. They had a little girl who he adored, absolutely adored, but couldn't live with each other. He liked to drink, she liked to drink, but he never knew when to go home. And I used to go mad at him, and then this one day he came home, and he said, "It's over." He said, so a few weeks passed, and we started talking about houses. I said, "Why don't you buy a house?" He said, "That could be a good idea," because he was good with his hands. He could do stuff. So found a house, bought it. When we got in, we had to rip all the flooring out, all the joists. They were all rotten. So we did that together, and then he had damp proof on the walls, and we got all that done. It took him about a year to get the house done. And he moved in about when would it have been? About the May, June of 2019. So, but then I seen a change in him. When it was all done, I felt as if I'd pushed him to buy the house to keep him occupied, but then it was done. And I just felt something was taken away from him. They were still seeing each other in and out with the band. Never stopped to see her. So everything was good on one side, but he was on his own. And I think that being on his own was tough.
Because that's when you sit down, and that's when everything stops, isn't it?
Yes.
That's kind of when your mind starts ticking, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Was he? You said off camera as well. You sit and you think and you overthink probably yourself.
Yeah.
Was he? Did he have those?
Yeah. Exactly the same. Glass was always half empty, never half full. Yeah.
But he was quite successful. But clearly, I think it's a drive in you, drive and work ethic. Sometimes you're trying to fill up that glass with that drive and that work ethic, and it's passing time as well, because when you do stop, that's when you start thinking. So if you keep moving, then you don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a similar pattern to that, or can you see that from like now looking back? Or
look, yeah, I suppose you can. You used to go around. What you doing? I'm just sat, not doing out. I'm going to go to the pub. And he seemed to get, because he was on his own.
Yeah.
He started going out, which he never missed work. Never ever missed work. Even if he went out, and he was late, and he'd always go to work.
So that didn't get in the way, did it? It was just more a social thing for someone to do.
Yes, social thing, just not to be in the house.
Was he looking for something? Was he looking for a group? Because obviously, obviously certain things didn't work out, but when you're getting squeezed on one end, you need a bit of a game. We're talking about release valve, you need kind of something for yourself to escapism a little bit.
Yeah.
Pub probably is that, is it?
Yeah, and he was a decent darts player as well. So he was in the darts league.
Yeah.
So that was, and he'd not met them, he knew them all, and he started going out playing darts quite a lot. So that was probably his group, all the lads.
Yeah.
But he was never. You could just see the unhappiness starting to appear, and I was getting stories off people, saying, "Got to watch." We called him Skyver. That was his name, not Pete. He was born Peter, but everyone knew him as Skyver. And I was getting told, he's struggling. We've watched him and we're talking to him and he's down. But nobody at work knew. Hid it. Nobody at work knew he was struggling. They said he was just a funny lad.
So who was saying these things? Was it his mates and stuff like that?
Mates, gaffers on the jobs.
So they can see it.
They can see it, yeah.
'Cause they're looking down, aren't they? It's not your pals who you can mess about with. It's about your boss. That's kind of just seeing change.
Yeah, and they went away as a group. As a group, they were in Hull, Liverpool. So it was the same people. So the same lads were with him, and he used to say he used to go out and have a drink, and then he'd come back in, and they could see he was agitated. And I think the first time anything went wrong, from probably about April 2018, started seeing changes in him. He used to go into his house on a night, and there'd be 2 cans open. I'm like, "What are you doing?" "I'm just having a drink." I was like, "But it's 5 o'clock." "Yeah, I know. And I could see it just steadily starting to get in his head. Whatever it was just starting slowly, his mental health.
So he's trying to mask that, isn't he, with the drink? He's filling a hole there completely. And he doesn't know any other way. He's gone to the pub, he's gone to work, he's doing this. But inevitably, every single time you go home, you're on your own.
And there's nothing else to do.
There's no one else around. There's nothing else to do. So that's when you're in your own head. And I think that's where the danger kicks in, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And you can see it, you can do all of these things yourself and try and help. But it really is down to the person as well.
Yeah.
That's quite a tough thing to see from an outside perspective as well.
Yeah.
So what was was there a spiraling? Was there a kind of going down, or was it just quick, or what was it like?
We got a message off somebody from, it was a friend of mine actually. He was a gaffer on the job, and one of the lads had gone home back to the flat in Hull. And when he went through the door, he was on the floor.
Yeah.
And I think there was an aerosol can. Now, he got took to hospital that night, but everything was fine. He'd had a drink and he'd gone home, so we sat him down, me and his mum, and we spoke to him about it, and he said it was just a one-off. He said it just happened. But then I noticed in his cupboard there was 2 aerosols. And I thought, hang on, something going on here. So gets the aerosols, takes them, gets rid of them, and then just slowly, just over the days, you could see every time he went there was either a drink, he was in the hot tub, he was into his rave music. So he got a hot tub and he was in the garden. It was nice, it was sunny, but there was always a can. And I just always worried, and I could walk into the house and look at him and think, you've had a drink. And then one night I went round and there was a load of boxes of tablets on the side. And I went outside and I went, "What have you done with them?" He said, "I've took them." I said, "What have you done that for?" He said, "I've just had enough." He said, "I don't want to be here." So we phoned an ambulance. Ambulance came, took him up the hospital, and he was all right. He hadn't took enough. So it just, that was the sort of...
The crowd help, isn't it?
Yeah, he was absolutely begging for help. And he went to a place in Stockton, but they only spoke to him about drinking. But he made me laugh. The first day we went in, he got an appointment and we went in. There was a young girl on the desk. And we walked in, he said, I've got an appointment at 2 o'clock. And this young girl said, give me 2 secs, I'll just go up. And she walks out the room. And he looked at me and he went, I'll be taking her out in the next few days. And I'm like, what? And we're there for but they got him and said, he just needs to slow his drinks down, and he's not an alcoholic, he hasn't got a problem, he's working, he's running his house, he's running his life. And a few weeks later, we ended up in North Seas Hospital, same thing, said he took some tablets. Two nurses took him, and I said, can I come in? And they said, let us speak to him first, then we'll come and talk to you. And when I went in to see them, they said, he's not a threat. He's not a threat of taking his own life. He said he's happy, he's funny. But this is what he was doing. He was leading people on. People just weren't seeing it. He could disguise it so well. And then he went into, on one Sunday, he said, I'm struggling, Dad, I'm going to go up to the hospital. There's a unit you can go into. And he went into this unit and said, look, he said, I'm drinking, I'm taking tablets, I'm struggling, I need help. And they turned him away and said, you're not a suicide risk. Right. And he came home, and I think 4 days later, he took his own life after that last. So it built up, where he was going. When it was doctors, put him on an antidepressant, and he never, ever got the prescription. I found the prescription in his drawer. Right. He never, ever went and got it. But this last one he went to on the Sunday, and then on the Thursday, he took, as I say, took his own life. It was a little girl's birthday on the Wednesday, on the 2nd of October. He let midnight go. In fact, he was talking to me up to midnight. We were talking about football. I think Liverpool had played, and he'd gone out. I'd been round his house. We'd been out for a meal with his bairn, and went back round his house, and he went and took her home. So he come back and he sat on the settee, and I could see, when you see someone and you can see the life's just drained out of them. And he went, I'm going to go for a pint. It was only 9 o'clock. And I went, all right. And he went, I said, I'll wait here. I said, I'll sleep here tonight. Make sure you're all... No, Dad. He said, I'm fine. You go home. You go and get your head down. And he went out, and within about an hour and a half, he was back in. And he sent me a video of 2 bagels. He said, I've just made me supper. Right, that's the one. And they were in the toaster, and he was videoing it. And he went, I'm having these. And he said, I'm off to bed. So I went to sleep, got up next morning, went to work. And when he's at work, they've got to hand the phones in because they're on a chemical site. So I was ringing him about 7:30, 7:45 to make sure he was all right. No answer. And I was in Stockton in my van, and I thought, I'm going to go around his house. Don't know why. So I drove around his house, and his car's on the drive. So I thought, you little get, you've been up, you haven't gone to work. So I get my key in the door. Couldn't get in, couldn't get the key to turn. And then, so I'm banging on the door, I'm knocking, and nothing. And then I looks, and I could see him, like on the stairs. And I thought, you are so drunk you can't even hear me. And then I kept banging and banging and banging and nothing. Then I seen a policeman. I waved this copper down, and he came round in his car. He said, what's up? And I said, oh, my son's, I can see him. I said, but I can't get in. And he had a look. He jumped the fence into the back garden, couldn't get in, jumped back, and he went, phone 999, telling me we want an ambulance. And I went, this isn't good, is it? And he went, no, it's not. And then I knew then, that night he'd stayed up till about 3 a.m. He was talking about, found a phone number on his phone, and I phoned this phone number, and it was a girl I didn't know. And she said, he was talking to me on Facebook last night till about 2 o'clock. Then he went quiet. So we can lead it up to 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got round there about 9:15. But in between, don't know, there was a bottle of beer open on the top of the stairs, not touched, just the lid off. And he'd put rope around his neck, and he just let himself slide on the stairs.
Really?
And that's how he took his life. So he did it on his own, didn't bring anyone else into it. But will we ever know why? Don't know. I just think in his own mind, he was a burden, and he thought he was a burden to us. And people have said to him, "You're gonna kill your dad. Your dad's struggling because you're going out, and he's worrying, he's not sleeping." And I think everything got to him, got on top of him, and the way out was to do what he did, you know. And he would never have left his little girl. And I can't say that about his boy, because he didn't get enough relationship with him. But we do now. Oh, you know, Fab, he's 15 now, so it's good, you know. But it was tough. It was a tough few months. So I would say, going back to your original question, did it just build up? Yeah, it probably did. For about 5 months, you could steadily see him. Oh, and a friend at work seen him one day cutting a load of rope, and he shouted to him, "What you doing?" He said, "Oh, I need it for the job." I found it in his bag at home. So he was planning it, because he brought the rope home himself, and it was the rope that they use on chemicals, blue stuff. I hate it. Yeah. I really do. Yeah. But now I look 6 years on, 7 years on, still tough. But he's in no pain, and nobody's hurting him anymore. And that's how I look at it. I just think he's away working, and he's not in any pain. And he was in so much, really was, lots of pain.
There's so many questions there.
I know.
Because you put yourself in that situation and you go, right, everyone, do you blame yourself?
I blame myself for going home on that night. But if I hadn't went home that night, he'd have done it another night. If his mind was made up, which they tell you when you're contemplating suicide, you just get a black fuzz over your eyes, and you think, this is it, I've had enough. So yeah, I do blame myself, but not in a way, not his upbringing or anything like that. I just think it was circumstances.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd probably categorise that question a little bit more. Obviously, you've done what you've done. You've raised a person, and we all are our own individual person at the end of the day. All you can do is your best.
Yeah.
But the night, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
obviously you're going to replay the thing.
Yeah.
And it has to get to a point, Graeme, when acceptance is the word that keeps popping up about these things.
Yeah.
Because I interviewed a lady called Nicola, and she said she has to accept that her son wanted to take his own life. And I think that's one of the hardest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, and I've done that. I can sit with a choir and my friends, and I can say, people say, one person said to me, it's a coward's way out. And I went, how do you say it's a coward's way out? I said, I couldn't do it. I couldn't have sat and done what he done that night on his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, if Pete sat there that night and thought, I'm hurting Mum, I'm hurting Dad, and I don't want to do it anymore, and that's what I'm going to do, you've got to accept it, because that was his choice, and his choice that night was to do it.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hard, but you miss him like mad.
Yeah.
And you know, he was only young. He was only 31. Yeah. He had everything to live for. You know.
You sit and you look back, you go, look, you've been through stuff in your life, and if you just got past that 6 months, if you just got past that thing, things turn a corner.
Yeah, you meet
like
someone else.
You're always going to do that. We all know this, right? But that was the choice. That's what he did, and that's what's happened. You can't take that back.
Yeah.
Hearing somebody saying that, I've got friends of mine who say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're being selfish. I'm like, you don't. If you put yourself in that situation, if you have that mindset, then you'll understand.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, how can you comment on that? Do you know what I mean?
You can't comment on it.
No,
you can't.
And the acceptance as well. And you have to get to that because you're going to torture yourself forever.
You do. And I did for the first probably 2 or 3 years, but then I didn't realise this. I'm jumping a bit now. Well, not that far really. I thought it was a few months later that Mike McGraw from Infant Hercules Choir got in touch with me and said, "We've heard what's happened to your son. We're doing a walk. Would you like to come along? Bring your family. We're going to walk towards the A19. So that's the road between the A1 and Newcastle. And we're going to sit there and we're going to get my guitar out and we're going to sing a song." And they said, "We think it'll do you good." And we did that. And then we walked towards the Transport Bridge, which is the big bridge in Middlesbrough. And they said, "Oh, we've been practicing a song." They were doing a show. And they were doing a song called One More Light from Lincoln Park. And the lad from Lincoln Park took his own life. Yeah. So we were stood, and there was a good gang of us. There was about 20 of us and all the choir. And they started singing One More Light. And as they started to sing it, the lights on the Transport Bridge, one by one, all went off as they were singing it and left one light on. And that one light was representing Peter. And it was just, I just cried. I went they went to the pub after that for a sing song in a pub in the Zetland in Middlesbrough. So we ended up in there, and I can just remember just being at the back, just in bits, but with people coming over and who I didn't know saying, "Look, so sorry, blah blah blah." Now I thought that was 3 months afterwards. Mike told me it was 3 weeks.
Really?
It was 3 weeks that he got me out. So 6 years ago, that was the first thing I'd sort of done with the choir. And then 6 years on, I'm still in it, still can't sing. But we've been on the telly. I'm singing in front of 12,000 people at the AO Arena in Manchester. So and I can imagine Peter up in heaven. He'd be spinning his decks and listening to me singing songs and chanty and things like that. And he'd be embarrassed that I'm there doing that. But
did that help? That day, did that really help you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The choir's changed my life. I was at a point as the months rolled on and we had the funeral and my mates, not the choir, my other friends, "Are you coming out?" "Nah, don't want to come out." "You can't." And they were saying to me, "You can't sit in. You're just going to dement yourself." And then the choir came along and I started going out with my friends, and then I went, "I'm going to go to the choir." And so it's every Thursday I know that I'm going to be with 60 lads. And I love talking about Pete. I love it. I don't want people to forget him. You know, he was only here 31 years, but it was the best 31 years I had. You know.
Yeah.
But you miss him. I do miss him, but no, there's no guilt because it's a decision. I don't blame him.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because you're leaving behind kids and all this kind of stuff, and he's in that fog, he's in the mist, he can't see through it.
He just thinks, let's get out of it.
He needs to get out of it, and this is the only way out.
Yeah.
He's tried the pills, didn't work.
Yeah.
So where do you go? You try something different, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I think for me, men are reactive. Men just say, fuck it.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. And I think that's why it's more men.
Yeah.
because of that reason.
Yeah.
They just think, yeah, I've had enough of this, boom.
We do the action.
Yeah.
And yeah. So.
But then your world's split in two. You've got the bit you were with him and now the bit you're not. And last year, October just gone, and this was quite a big thing for me. Last October, when it was the little ones, how old was she? 12. She'd been here longer on her own than she was with him, and I couldn't figure that out. It's gone in a flash. 7 years this year has gone in a flash. But yeah, it's a tough one.
It is a tough one, but you know, you're very articulate, and you kind of clearly there's always going to be emotion there, but you can speak because you probably told the story quite a few times now, you know.
Probably.
But, yeah. So telling your story to others, how has it helped? Have you noticed any difference? Have you had people? I mean, hats off to Mike. Hats off to Mike to see that. See that he knows that. I need to talk to Mike because I want to know why he kind of does this and why he knows that. Is there a thing about Mike? Is he got a story why he's kind of?
Yeah, Mike's just got something. Whatever Mike is, it's just magic dust. Honestly, he just puts you at ease. He sits and talks, and you come away thinking, I feel better now. I feel better. But going back to what you said about talking about like Peter, a few weeks after he passed, I got a message off a girl. She said, "Is there any chance we can meet up?" She said, "I need to talk to you." And I went, "Yeah, of course we can." So met up in a pub, and she broke her heart to me about a childhood. She came to me because of what I'd went through, so she could get everything out like I'd got it out. And I must have had about 5 or 6 of them people coming to me asking, can I just sit and talk to you? I need to talk to you. I'm in a bad place. And this girl now is fab. You know, she's come out and she's doing really well.
How did she find you? You said, where was your story?
Oh, everywhere.
Everywhere. So you've spoke about it enough, put it on social media. So the thing is, Graeme, you've kind of made the step to be honest and open and put yourself out there, and that takes it takes courage to put yourself out there.
Yeah, it does.
Represent something as Tremaine.
Yeah, his funeral was like an 18th birthday party. You know, there was I think there was 6. The new crematorium had just opened in Stockton, and I think he was about only the 3rd or 4th in, and they couldn't get the cars in the car park.
Really?
There was about 600 people at his funeral, and we went back to the Synthonia Suites in Billingham, and I said, "This isn't going to be sad. This is going to be." So we had a disco. What was it? Bit of rave music and all that. And they were on 11 o'clock at night. They were on the tables chanting his name, and I'm looking about going, "This is unbelievable. What he's missing." And a few months later, one of the lads organised a rave, and all the DJs from Newcastle came down to Billingham, and they did a rave for him. So he was he was more than well liked. You know, he was well known, well liked, but a bit of a nuisance in drink.
Well,
bad.
That's the thing. We've all got our own flaws, haven't we? But it's one of those. I think you should. Yeah, you have to look at it. It depends on how you look at things. It could be a celebration of somebody's life.
That's
Look, man, it's always going to be there, right? You're always going to get yourself down. You can always get to that position, but that's going to drive you insane. So I think you have to flip it on its head and look at the positives in it as well. So,
well, the other one that came out as well, talking about positives and how I cope, is we sold our house and I bought his.
Really?
So we're still in the house. What he'd done out, where he took his own life. And I said to one of my counsellors from the Russ Devereux Headlight Project very early, I said, I can sit on the stairs with a cup of tea exactly where he was. And she said, do you get upset? And I went, no. I get comfort. I can talk to him, even though I know he's not there. I can talk to him because that's where he was.
All right, okay.
So,
because some people would run away, would
yes,
run the other way.
A lot of people
Graeme,
said, are you doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And it's been a massive comfort, it has.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. What's your wife think about that, though?
Well, so Peter's mum was my first wife. So my wife now, she was all right with it. You know, she went, yeah, I think we should. You know.
Because I think it's one of those, when you're in a relationship, they're looking after you as well. So it's kind of like, oh, is this going to be a good idea? We're going to be spiraling. Is this Graeme going to be off?
Is he just going to sit there and cry every night?
Yeah, so he's kind of going to time it every night. He goes and sits with a cup of tea instead. And stuff like that. But saying that, it's understanding that and saying that and have the discussion about that. Because you shouldn't be sitting worrying about that. You should be going, Graeme, are you going to be, go, no, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the healthy thing to do, is to talk about it. Because a lot of people don't. And then we end up on all these tricky situations and then relationships break down because of lack of communication, mate. I think it's a lot of it.
And it's brought me and his mum closer together. Okay. You know, when it happened, we were all going out on a night, first few nights, most nights. And, you know, and we get on and it's good. We weren't really never hated each other, but it's just brought us closer together with my other, stepdaughter and stepdaughter. So
how does everybody handle it as a collective, though? Is it kind of, have you all got the same kind of thought process? Have you all accepted? You all come together through it?
Yeah.
Or is there any kind of, is it any rifts or anything, any doubts, any, you know, I mean, I don't know, it's a hard question, mate, because I don't want to talk about people who aren't here. It's like, I'm not trying to,
it's
all
right.
I'm intrigued, mate.
It's all right.
Okay.
Nobody doesn't talk to each other. Yeah, everything's all right. You know, we've all accepted that he's not here. Maybe, funny, my daughter phoned me up the other day, because if I read something on Facebook, a poem, and I like it, I just retweet it. And my daughter phoned me up the other day, so she's 35, my daughter. She's a prison officer, so she's a tough little nut. And she phoned me up and said, right, Dad, he's gone. Got to get over it. I said, I am over it. She said, well, stop putting them soppy things on Facebook. But to me, it's not soppy. It's just something I've read, and I think, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
But she's like, he's gone. But in a nice way, she said it, not horrible.
Yeah. That's the thing, Graeme, that's the point I was trying to make, is that, because those examples, that really describes what I'm trying to get to, is kind of, there's always going to be that. Why can you stop posting this? Can you stop doing that? Well, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. Really, it is your choice at the end of the day. And it's the other people who usually have the issue, that's why they come to you about it. But I'm pleased it was, you know, it was tongue-in-cheek.
Tongue-in-cheek, it was.
It
was.
It was. The thing is, people get worried about the other person. Is he kind of, he's saying he's all right, but is he really?
Yeah,
you know?
what's he do? Yeah.
It is, it's the digging, you know, because if that's happened there, then they don't want anybody to suffer. And I think there's always that care. Yeah,
and she said, she turned around and said, make sure you're going out with Kev. Kev was my best man at my wedding, and he was there from the first. Well, he's always been there, but I just sometimes now I don't fancy the pub. You know, just sat in a pub. But if I go to the choir, it's not the pub, it's the choir. But we do go out together, and I said, yeah, I will. I said, I know. I just find it sometimes you just don't fancy it. But he'll sit in the same pub, Kev.
Yeah.
You know, he has his local. And I go, should we go to Stockton? No, I'll just go to Sally. Oh, God, not again. But everybody's been really good. Friends, family. People, even people I don't know, have reached out. You know, different charities. So...
Let's finish on, I just want to talk about your take on mental health and suicide, and just, look, it's never going to go away, but what's your take on what we can do to kind of help?
Do you know, it's a tough one, because until it happened with Pete, suicide was something that never ever went in my head. I didn't really know anything about it. But now when you look, we seem just to push people. Do we push them away? There's just not enough out there for them to go get help. And if somebody needs to talk and they're telling you, look, I'm in a really bad place here, you can't just say, there's some tablets, take them. You've got to get them help. Is it good? Are we doing enough? I think we're doing more than we were, but it's still not getting that rate down. And that rate's the thing that we've got to, I
spoke to somebody recently and he says, because I praise people for like setting up groups but why should it take groups of just normal people to set up a CIC for somewhere to go? It's because they found they needed help, so they set it up for other people. But there seems to be more and more. And you go, it's great. But I'm like, it's great, but there's a want for it. So there's a reason why society needs that.
Yes.
And it seems to be growing. But is it fixing it? But will it ever? But I'm in this to and fro.
Yeah, no, you're probably right, because you turn up to a group, there's a couple of groups I go to, and you turn up and there's every so many months there'll be another person there, and you think, and they'll introduce themselves, and it's just happened. And I'm like 7 years on now, and I'm sat there and I'm having a cup of tea and I've got a smile on my face, and I'm looking at these people and they're broken. But it's still happening all these 7 years later.
It's still happening, and I mean we can go backwards and forwards with this thing. There's more people, more groups, but good, because now you didn't see people coming out to go to the groups because there weren't the groups. So now you're saying the numbers come to the groups.
Yeah, so because the groups are there.
Because the groups are there. So is that the good thing? Do you know what I mean? Is that the knock-on effect that we're seeing more people because there are groups there and people are actually opening up? But we all want them never to have big groups and not be there.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be an issue because there's always going to be an issue. So I don't know.
I think
keep the groups going.
I think when you said there, like sort of the final point, I think what we've got to get to, and this is me looking at my daughters, how they were. We've got to get this into schools. It's got to go on to a lesson under the, so they're teaching about mental health and suicides, not being frightened to talk about it. Because if we're frightened to talk about it, people are going to keep doing it. So get it on their curriculum, and let's get people's heads focused on it. So they know that if they're struggling, there's people out there, and you can go to places. And if we stop one person doing it, it's one person who's not going to go through what we've all gone through.
Perfect. Thanks, Graeme. You've rounded that up very nicely. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Cheers.